We would like to welcome Arun Somadathan to give us a lecture on serpent worship and sacred groves. Arun Somadathan is a business process consultant by profession, living in Furtwangen in the Schwarzwald. Serpent worship is an example of the primitive religious traditions of the nature worship followed by mankind in various parts of the world. This topic also engages with the relationship between man and nature, spreading a very important message for an eco-friendly world.
Nun folgt eine Präsentation über die Verehrung der Schlange, vorgetragen von Herrn Arun Somadathan.
So once again, good afternoon, good evening. These are closed, so I don't know if it's afternoon or evening. So let me start off with a small 2-point disclaimer. First of all, I'm not an expert in this area. Why I'm doing this is because this whole concept of serpent worship was born out of curiosity, just like Mr. Maheshwara had told a few minutes before that breathing is something that we do unconscious. And for me, as a young fellow, when I grew up, what I did unconscious was not to follow my own tradition. So I guess this is my karma to come and stand here to promote my tradition. So second thing is, this is not intended for promoting any particular religious practice or anything, but this is something very interesting that I had seen as a child when I was born, growing up seeing my own tradition. So first of all, am I visible to everyone? Yes. Okay, that's a very good response, at least. I'm getting some voices from here and there. And second thing is, I normally like to have a conversation sort of presentation, but due to time constraints, I may have to go a bit fast. So please bear with me if you feel that I'm speaking a bit fast. Okay, fine. So serpent worship and sacred groves. As I said, why am I doing this? Why am I presenting this? Is because can we go to the first slide? Okay, so I'll just go through the agenda. I'll just give you a small introduction. Then we'll go through the origins and the history of serpent worship. How did it come? Then I'll give you about some belief and myth that we follow. Then we can go to the ritual tradition, and then I can give you a small explanation about sacred groves or sacred forests and so on. Then I can give you a small detail about what I intend to do with this topic. Yeah, next slide please. So yeah, as you said, I grew up with this curiosity about why do my people pray animals, because I grew up seeing a culture where we used to believe in cows, we used to believe in serpents and all sort of animals that we see. And so basically that brought me into this, and what the biggest observation I found in this is some sort of a belief that we even follow till today, but unfortunately we do not have much literary dedications. I mean, nobody has written much about this topic. So what I intend to do is I need to research more on this. Professionally, I'm in the technical and business side, but this I would like to do as a passion and try to contribute something for the next generation to know that we have this belief. So for starters, let me give you the common terms that you normally use for serpent worship. You can also call it as offertory or officism. Okay, so that's the common term when you come across this later on. Next slide please. So these are some of the images that I grew up seeing. Okay, I can explain this detail when we go to the next slide. So let's see the origin. So basically how historians divided belief was, it's basically divided as a part of the world where you believe that nature is everything. And that's how this sub-branch of serpent worship was born. Now, in nature worship, what you believe is because you are a lot dependent on nature. So that's how ancient Greeks and all in the Western civilization started believing in thunder, lightning, and sun, rain, and so on. Similar we do have in Indian traditions. So this was a sort of growth in belief that happened. So can we come to the next slide? So if you see, serpent worship is not something that is born just in the Indian part of world. I mean, it was born right from, the Americas. The Mayans had a belief that they had a serpent god, a feathered god. The third image, I mean 3, 4, yeah, the fourth image is a Mayan god. And I'm not pretty sure if the pronunciation is correct. It's called Kukulkan. So that's the Mayan god. Then the Chinese had a lot of serpent gods, but the Chinese had represented it more as a monster. And then we had in Egypt, they had a god called Mehen, and this was also referred to as the coil one. And in Australia, the Aborigines even still believe in serpents, and they do also have serpent gods. So in Japan, and of course in Greek mythology, if some of you are aware about Greek mythology, you may also have come across a lot of gods which have serpents as part of them. So next slide please. So there, this is a bit detailed. I can explain this to you. If you start reading this, you may get carried away. So what this explains is basically, what I understood from my research is that serpent worship had a lot of linking connection between different parts of the world. Now if you come to the Aborigines, they had this belief that serpents were considered as a god of infertility. God of fertility, sorry for that mistake. God of fertility, because they used to pray when any woman has any fertility issues. Now why did they believe was this? Scientifically, serpents have this quality of shedding their skin and getting a new layer of skin. So they had this belief. They didn't have a educational background as to how much we had. So they had this belief that, okay fine, this is something of rebirth. This has something to do with rebirth. So that's how they believed in that. And even till today, in my part of India, in Kerala, even some of the offerings that we do in some temples are based on this. When a husband and wife has some problem with a future or creating a family, they normally do offerings. So there is always an interlinking connection. And even sometimes there is this, in some of the books of Mayans, and even the Aboriginal history shows that they believed that snakes and serpents were a medium for communication between two parts of the world. That means they had this belief that you had this upper world where God is there and this lower world where we are there. So serpents used to come from this land and they used to go somewhere else. So they believed that there was a world below. Now if you see the Vedic cultures, they always had this belief that serpents always came from a world that was somewhere below. They called this as a underworld. If I can tell the actual maybe the conversion from the Sanskrit word. They call this as an underworld where Nagas is what they call this group. So if anyone feels that I'm going a bit fast, please stop me in between. I can go a bit slow, but I have this time frame to finish off. So let's go to the next. So now let's get into the Indian part of this belief. Now most of you who have an idea about Indian beliefs and culture, these are some of the certain aspects that we believe. As I said, we also have this belief that serpents have this power of communicating with the underground kingdom. Oh my God, underworld is an entirely different dimension. Sorry. Okay, so Ananta and Shesha, some books refer it as Ananta Shesha, some areas they refer it as Ananta. So this was basically the 1,000-headed snake. Normally, you see Vishnu resting onto a big serpent. Now that is basically Ananta, and it's considered as a symbol of power. Sometimes you even consider it as a supreme god. In some cases, because he has some powers of decision making in some stories and so on. Then we have Vasuki, who was an ardent Shiva devotee, but don't misunderstand. Some people tell that Vasuki is the god who is on the neck of Shiva. No. I couldn't find the name actually. So Vasuki is an ardent Shiva devotee who is coiled around the Mount Mandara. Now I hope most of you know about the story of Mount Mandara. If it is to get into that, there's a lot of explanation. So let's keep it over there. That's the bottom right image that you see. That's Vasuki, who is who offered himself for churning this whole mountain to create the Amrit. Amrit was a liquid that was used to give people life. No death, you can live long. So then you have a group of gods, Gulikan, Karkodagan, Padma, Mahapadma, and the next slide. Yeah, so this 7 gods, including one more extra god, they were called as the Ashtanagas. Now, if you have been in serpent temples, they have this offering called the Ashtanaga Puja and all. So that is based on this 8 gods you have. Now, what are the rites and rituals? Now, let me get into the part of Kerala, because I am from there, and that's where I grew up seeing this. Now, basically, it's predominantly we consider it to an area called Sarpakavu. Now, how did this form is because previously most of the families were having a large plots of land, Now they had to, they didn't have enough, they had to rely a lot on nature. They were people who had farming as a profession. So there was this whole ecosystem they had to maintain. So that's how they started off with this whole concept of having a plot, a small forest at one corner of their house. And there they used to pray the serpent god, and this was called as the Serpa cow. Now normally the belief is that the eldest female of the family has to light a lamp every day at the evening of this place. And why elderly is because she is free of death, birth and menstrual pollution. This was a quote that I took directly from a book. I can show you the reference later. Yeah, so let's get to the next slide. So basically, in the beliefs of Kerala, the Sarpa cow, basically you divide it as two parts. One is owned by the Nambudri groups, the other is the ones that is owned by the Nair owned. So this is not a factual research-based division. This is my observation, because why it is divided is because the rituals that they do is entirely different. Now, most of the Nambudri owned is basically Vedic types. It has more mantras and tantras. When you come to the Nair owned beliefs and rituals, it is more action based. They have a lot of programs and traditional methods and cultural aspects in that. So let's get into the next part. Now, most of them who are from Kerala may have this idea. Now, it's not just about Nambudris and Nayars. I mean, if I don't mention this group of people who are, I would be missing a big part of serpent worship in Kerala, because if you have been to serpent temples, you may always hear this resonating sound of a guitar or a small guitar or a sitar. Now this is sung only by a particular group of people called as the Pullavas. And why do I mention this is because this whole tradition is getting extinct. What I see is today the younger generations of this particular group are going to different directions. So there is, a very big lack of this tradition being followed to the next generation. So maybe it's always good to know that there are a group of people who always do this. They dedicate themselves. And what do they do? I can show in the next slides. Can we come to the next slide? So basically, I'll just run through this. This is what you normally do as a serpent worship ritual in a house or at a temple. The first is a Noorum Palam. It is a mixture of water, milk, rice powder and turmeric, which you normally see. That's the yellow color you normally see in most of the serpent temples. And then you have this Kalamarita part that is, I can show you the images after this. It is a floral painting of 8 serpents. As I told you, the Ashta Nagangal is, it's shown onto the floor, it's drawn onto the floor, and only using you don't use any sort of artificial paints or powders, you use all natural made powders. And then you have the Tullal, and once this powdered design is done, you have 2 women or maybe more than 1 woman from the house who will dance, who will be in a trance stage once the music goes up. You can somewhat similarize it to exorcism or something, a pure divine exorcism in fact. So that happens, this trance stage. It is really interesting to watch if you actually get an opportunity. And then they come into this hypnotized stage and they act as serpents. And they dance on top of this Kalamarita part. And next slide, I can show you the images. Now top left what you see is Noorum Padam, and the guy on the bottom singing, he is a typical Pullavar. You can normally see him on temples. And then these two are the images, this the drawings that they do on the floor, and the amount of dedication. They don't even use any sort of scale or anything to get the correct dimension. It's just that they come over there and they draw with their hand. It's very amazing to see how they draw this, and within that given time period. And after that, you have these girls who sit over there, and these are normal girls. They are not like divine or holy people. They just come and sit over there. And it's very amazing to see that within the, when the music keeps on, going to the high pitched level, they just get into this trance state and they start, getting onto this floor, and they move around this whole place, and that's how they believe that the God has entered into this place. Yeah, so those are some of the images. I would have liked to explain more, but yeah, let's get to the next slide then. So okay, fine. Now this is something that I wanted to get into more importantly than the beliefs. Now where does all this rituals happen is not in a normal temple atmosphere. You have the sacred groves. Now the sacred groves are where the exact habitat of this serpents are maintained even till today. Now what is amazing is, can you come to the next slide? What is amazing is because a lot of research has shown that there is a species that even till today modern science has not been able to give a nomenclature for all these animals and plants inside these forests. So what is amazing is, what I understood is a tradition was able to maintain such a variety of ecosystem even till date. No matter how much developed we are in science and technology, we were able to maintain a forest, we were able to maintain a certain set of species just in the name of tradition. So we can't just tell that this is just a religious practice. Maybe there was a hidden agenda when this was formed into the world. The next slide please. Now this started from pleasing gods. I mean, in earlier stages you had a lot of Ayurvedic plants inside these. You used to, when we had this British invasion, they used to come to this place and they used to take this. Now you don't need to do that. You just need to order it online. You have a lot of people who do that. Now thing is, this has been even conserved till today. And my mission as a person, next slide please. My mission as a person is, the whole concept is traditions and beliefs have a reason why they are maintained. Now it's not just because that God will get angry at you or God is going to get irritated at you. Because why I found this interesting is because normally in India you can get into any sort of forest without any problem, but this was the only place you can't even get, because first of all I am scared because people tell serpents are there, and secondly the reason behind this is because there's a lot of ecosystem that doesn't get damaged inside this small area. And today we are in this whole world of advancement. We need new apartments and we are cutting down all these trees. But if such things are not maintained, the future generations are going to find a tough time. The thing is, Mayan civilizations, Aborigines and all those people who had serpent worship, even the generations who are there right now don't have an idea that they have this belief. Now, if we as a people do not maintain this part of our tradition, and this is not just about serpent worship, this can be for all that cultural practices, cultural dances you see here today. If we don't maintain this as a mission, all these practices are going to go down in the maybe next 5 years. Because as I had a chat with one guy from the Pudwar caste, he used to tell us that we don't have anyone who is interested. Now my children and my grandchildren just want to get into engineering and they want to get into a different level. I'm not telling that we should go and learn it and but at least we can from our side try to propagate these ideas for our own younger generations, and that can be our mission, and that's what I also look forward to do after learning a lot about this, because as I said I'm still an amateur and learning more about this. I need to get more detail into this. So yeah, so just get this experience, and I would really assure most of you, whoever have been here and whoever haven't been part of the serpent worship, haven't seen it, it is very interesting to go and watch how they maintain this tradition. So yeah, so finally I'm proud to be a part of a culture where this tradition is still followed, and these are some of the references that I went to. I can show them later. So thank you, and this is my mail ID, and if you have any sort of interesting details to talk more about this, I will be available here also. We can talk more about this, and I hope you had a good information passage from me to you. Thank you.